Hello, and welcome to the Thyroid Warrior podcast. I'm Ebony, and I'm here as your wellness facilitator. I'm going to be sharing my experiences in managing Hashimoto's disease. I really hope that it'll help you on your personal journey. Keep in mind, however, this does not substitute for medical advice. It is only for your information and motivational purposes. Hey everyone, I just got back from the endocrinologist today. I am doing very well. My thyroid is not swollen. I passed the zombie test, as I call it, meaning when you stretch your hands out in front of you, if you can keep your hands there and they don't shake, that is a fantastic sign. I went through a lot of that in my early stages of being diagnosed, and it made me feel really, really good to know that I can actually see the endocrinologist once a year instead of every couple of weeks or every 3 months or every 6 months. So that really made me happy, and I know that I've come a long way. And I want to show you guys how you can also do the same. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is how I educated myself. So a lot of times everyone's like, you got to read, you got to read, you got to read, you got to read. However, not everyone is a reader. A lot of people want to hear things out loud. Some things they need to kind of draw out and figure out for themselves. And I kind of did a combination of all of those things. And of course, I read a lot. I tried to find as many books about Hashimoto's thyroiditis as I possibly could. I read journal articles. I read patient education pamphlets. I also went to online forums, and those were really helpful because they were real people with Hashimoto's disease that I could correspond to and talk to and say, well, what happened when your doctor increased your meds? How did you feel? What are the side effects that you experienced being on the generic version of your thyroid medication versus the brand name? Did you eat differently? Did you feel differently? And those were really good things for me because I really enjoy that human contact. I love talking to people. I love saying, hey, I'm kind of struggling with this. How did you figure that out? And what steps did you take? The other thing is I really enjoyed just talking to people in my endocrinologist's office. It's really hard for me because a lot of times I'm the youngest person in the office, and I'll just, say, hey, how's it going? How's your day? And people are like, oh, well, my diabetes is acting up today and they got me in here and they're poking me. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, tell me more about that. And not only do I learn a little bit more about someone else's story, but a lot of times they talk about symptoms that they've experienced that I myself have experienced. And that allows me that ability to share how I was able to manage that particular symptom, regardless of whether or not I had diabetes or not. It gave us an opportunity to share information. So first thing for today is don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to talk to others about your common experience. You'd really be surprised as to how much you learn from other people. And I'm constantly amazed at that. People want to talk. We're social beings. We want to interact with each other. And you gain so much information from someone who you would have never thought could have possibly experienced what you have, or they might not even have a thyroid disease. Let's say they're struggling with another autoimmune condition, but you guys can bond over that shared experience. And I want to tell you this story actually because my dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was a really scary experience for all of us. We found out that he was sick and that he had cancer, and all of us basically just freaked out. We were like, okay, what are we going to do? I don't want my dad to die. How are we going to figure this out? What are we going to do? And he started his treatment, and it was very difficult for him, but it was incredibly motivating for me personally to see how strong and brave he was. And even though he had cancer, he was still traveling. He was radioactive for a minute. He still went out, talked to people, conducted business meetings, and I was just in awe. And we would talk about how he was feeling, and my dad and I love to cook, and that is our shared experience. And we would basically start talking about, okay, well, these are the things that I'm eating right now. Why don't you try to do that? I can't eat bread because my stomach hates gluten. Why don't you take that out of your diet too? Let's see how that makes you feel. And it was really, really eye-opening for me. And it continued to help me to refine my diet. And it helped me to really, really pay attention to how I was feeling and what things worked versus what didn't work. And he has been in remission for a while now. We're very, very happy about that. And when I was struggling with my thyroid disease, it was so wonderful having him because he understood that pain that I was going through. He understood that silent suffering because you don't want to complain about everything that you're going through. You don't want to say, oh, well, by the way, I could barely get out of bed, or my joints bother me, or my head hurts, or this hurts, or that hurts. And that was great. I don't think that I would have been able to get through a lot of my tough times had it not been for my dad. So again, connect with other people, share your story, get your information out there, talk in forums. And the other bit of advice that I'll share is make sure that you're spending a productive amount of time in those forums or talking to other people. Because what you don't want to happen is, while it's very easy to bond over those commonalities, you don't want it to become a complaining session. You don't want to feel down on yourself because you're like, oh, well, I don't feel well, or I don't feel this. You're incredibly strong and powerful, and your thoughts are just amazing. And I'm a firm believer in you are what you believe. And as soon as I started talking about positive things with my dad and being happy because he was happy and he was healthy, a lot of that pain tended to go away that I was experiencing. And when you're happy, your immune system reacts to that and your antibody levels go down and all of those feel-good hormones get released and you're like, wait, what thyroid pain? I feel amazing. So that's the first bit of advice I'll offer. The other thing is get to know your body. One of the best things that I was given by my GI doctor when I was in New York was advice about, just using a food journal. I went to the dollar store and just bought a small notebook, and I started writing in it and chronicling my experience in terms of how I felt when I ate certain foods. Was I sluggish? Did I feel energetic? Did my stomach hurt? Did my head hurt after? How long was I full? Was I satisfied? Was I not satisfied? And I would write that information down every day, every meal. Yes, it's very hard at first because you're developing a habit, but after a while, that journal helped me so much. I would take it with me to the doctor and I would say, hey, I know that you told me to try this particular food, but actually it really upsets my stomach. What do you think about that? And that is when I also learned about my gluten sensitivity by bringing my food journal to the doctor, and we sat down and we went through it, and I ended up getting an allergy test done during that particular visit, and I thought that I may have celiac disease or something else, but I just have a gluten sensitivity. So I really tried to cut out gluten from my diet and breads and all that fun stuff. Fun fact, even though I can't eat a lot of bread, sourdough is okay. And if I make my own bread, I feel amazing. I think, which I will have to do some further digging and investigation on that, but I also think that it has a lot to do with the preservatives that are found in a lot of the breads that we eat. We'll talk a lot about that in a later episode, but for now, food journaling. That is incredibly important. And I, again, just recommend getting a regular notebook. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be crazy, but just start writing out. So write out what you ate, how it made you feel, how much did you eat? Did you eat all of it? Did you eat half of it? Did you eat, 3/4 of it? How much of it was protein versus starch versus vegetables versus fruit? Did you have dessert? Did you have bread or pasta? Write down that stuff. And then how did you feel in terms of, were you full for a long period of time? Did you get hungry after? Did you start thinking about, oh man, well, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that? Did you have any guilt towards it? Because a lot of times we can be very emotional eaters, and that can help you understand if you have certain triggers that particular day that will cause you to eat more or less or certain foods, which inevitably will impact your thyroid disease. For me personally, if I have a really, really bad day or a really stressful day, I tend not to eat that much because my stomach is in knots, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, and I really just want to be really calm and really kind to my stomach because it never ends well. So keep those things in mind. The other thing is mental health. We don't spend enough time focusing on our mental health. So for me, stress triggers my thyroid disease. And the more of it, the worse I feel. My joints hurt, the brain fog comes on right away. And I'm very, 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 very sad at that point because it's hard for me to come out of it because it takes so much energy. Some of the things that I've started doing was I pray and I meditate, I journal, I love to cook. If you ever hang out with me or you talk to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about food or I'm looking up a recipe or I'm trying to order a cooking book on Amazon, or I'm asking my dad, like, hey dad, what are you making these days? I kind of want to replicate this. Or if I go out to eat, I'm telling my husband, I'm going to make this at home. Are you okay with that? And naturally he's like, yeah, of course I am. So find the things that bring you joy. That, hands down, is going to make you feel so much better. I find that when I'm focusing on those things, I feel better, I sleep better, and it's best for everyone around because when I'm stressed out, I'm a crabby pants. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be around anyone. I don't want to talk. I just want to lay in the bed and be by myself, curl up in a ball, and sleep. But since I'm trying this whole adulting thing, that's a little difficult. But anyhow, mental health is super important. Exercise. I really, really, really love to exercise. As I said previously, I am an athlete. I enjoy being active. I love to dance. I love to learn some type of alternative sport that I would have never tried before. And it really just makes me happy. Not only do I feel better when I exercise, but I also have IBS, and my stomach is so happy with me when I exercise. I eat better, I feel better, and I have a lot more clarity. So, hands down, Exercise is my best friend. And my husband will also agree that when I'm exercising, I'm a much nicer person and I enjoy waking up in the morning, and he is ecstatic about that. So when I have him on the show, I'm pretty sure he'll put a plug in there. Everyone go tell your friends, exercise and do whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself happy, whole, and healthy. The other thing that I really, really want to stress the importance of is your medication. For a lot of us out there, we are either on Synthroid or the generic version of it or some type of supplement. And you really want to be careful with that. Anytime I go a couple of days without taking my medication, and that's usually because the pharmacy called me and I forgot to go pick it up because obviously I haven't taken my meds, so the brain fog comes back right away. But I go right away. Like if I don't do anything else, I'm getting my medication because that is really going to help. And for a lot of us, it's very difficult because you start taking your medication, it works great for 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, you're like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like I felt amazing, and now I feel like crap all over again. That, unfortunately, is the name of the game. So while you need your medication to really, really help you as much as possible, the other things that I've described are really going to make a difference, guys. Like, I promise you. I have a couple other friends that either have Hashimoto's disease or hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, and we all talk all the time about, oh my gosh, my medication stopped working. What am I going to do? I'm like, well, what are you eating? What are you doing? Are you indulging in happy hour a little bit too much? Are you exercising? Are you doing yoga? Are you meditating? And of course, all of them look at me and roll their eyes because they're like, of course, I'm not doing that. Leave me alone. Let me be human and let me feel bad for myself. And we all just hug it out and say, you know what? That's okay. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. And I never want you guys to think that I'm like, well, you should always feel good and you should never look bad or you should never feel sad or why are you in the bed all the time? I will never say that to you, primarily because it's happened to me a lot. And it really upsets me every time some person that knows absolutely nothing about how hard it is to have a thyroid disease tries to give me advice on how to live my life. I hate it. So I will never do that to you. And please don't ever misinterpret my intentions to share all of my love with you because that's exactly what I'm doing. The next thing, stressors. Holy crap. That can mean a lot of different things for you. If you're a caretaker, you could have caretaker stress. If you have a very hands-on job, if you have a job that requires a lot of mental focus, if you have a job where, it's all about sales and you have to make a commission and you have to reach this goal, or whatever the case may be, learn those stressors for yourself. My husband and I often talk about our triggers, meaning what are the things that we've either gone through in our childhood or things that people have done or said to us that we really don't like that just put us in a bad place. Identify those things for yourself because as you learn your body and your mood and what makes you happy or what makes you sad, you'll be able to separate yourself from those things or try to find alternate routes of taking care of yourself once you really identify what those stressors are. It takes a while. I know. It's a very, very challenging thing. But I promise, once you actually figure out what those things are, you are going to be so happy and so proud of yourself. I know right away what really, really just gets me really upset. And for me, that's being unorganized. I want to make sure everything is in its place. If I can't find things, I get really stressed out, particularly in the morning when I need to go catch the train. I didn't put my keys back where I should have, and then I'm struggling because I can't find my Metro card, and I'm screaming. I'm like, Daniel, where's my stuff? And he's like, did you put it in the right place? No. Well, Ebony, you keep misplacing your stuff all the time. Maybe if you put it in the designated spot, you wouldn't have this problem in the morning. I'm like, shut up, leave me alone. I'll find it. And of course, it's always in a weird spot because I fall asleep on the couch and somehow my Metro card fell into the seat cushion or my keys went under the sofa. I have no idea how they get there. I feel like sometimes I have little fairies that just misplace my stuff during the night just because they want to see me struggle in the morning. But figure out what those things are that really give you a hard time and try to write them down in a journal or talk to someone about it, maybe a therapist or a loved one or a friend, and brainstorm ideas or creative ways to either completely remove them or slowly get to a point where you can really decrease those stressors that you have. The other thing that I want to talk about is finding your healthcare provider. So that is huge. And I know that you guys know more than anyone else how hard it is to find good practitioners. My first experience was not that great, but when I got to New York, my endocrinologist was amazing. She took the time with me. She sat down with me. She answered all of my questions. She would check on me via the messaging portal that I had through my healthcare organization. If I really needed something, I could just call the front desk and leave her a message and she'd call me back. And it was really fantastic. Not only did I have her, but the universe really, really takes care of me and loves me because my general practitioner was also amazing. I had a great GYN. My GI doctor was phenomenal. And then I decided to move to Alexandria, Virginia with my husband, and I started school. And then after a while, I was like, okay, great. This is fun and all, but I need to get a job. So of course, that fun process of finding doctors started all over again. My first endocrinologist that I had was okay. I didn't mind her at all, but I'm like, no. This won't work for me. I am a very hands-on person. I need that conversation. I need to feel comfortable asking you questions. And if I feel like you're not going to do that with me, then I need to go find someone else. So that's exactly what I did. Couple of my doctors actually left the network, so I had to find new providers all over again. And that's been a bit of a journey. However, my current endocrinologist is great. I really love her. She's really, really gorgeous and she's smart. And she's like, okay, Ebony, it's time to have babies. What do you think about that? I'm like, oh my God, that sounds really, really scary. But she's so great about it. And she talks to me about whatever questions that I have, or she'll suggest something to me. And she's like, anytime you have a question, just call the office and schedule an appointment and we'll get you right in. Phenomenal. I also had a GI doctor that I found, and she was great. I could talk to her about the research articles that I had read and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about different testing that's out there about, analyzing your gut flora? Do you think I should do that? Do you think I shouldn't? Stool tests, are they really helpful? What do they measure? And she just answered every question that I had. And I'm a very curious person, and I'm constantly looking at different things and trying to get different ideas on how to feel better. And she told me as well, she's like, I don't really want to put you on meds because you're doing all the right things. Let's add a couple of things to your diet. Let's try more fermented foods, for example. You're doing the probiotic, and that's great. Let's continue to add more gut-friendly foods into your diet because I don't want you taking a lot of pills. So let's start to incorporate a lot of those things. And I would come back and tell her everything that I had and what I ate and what worked and what didn't work. And she's like, you're doing a great job. You're healing yourself and you did the work. So I'll say that to you guys, do the work. It's going to be very challenging at first. And I know I have been there. I have struggled. I have stayed up many, many nights in pain, with cramps, with nausea, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, the whole gamut. And if you want to feel better, you have to do the work. And I'm going to provide you with some resources to help you do that along the way. The other thing in terms of a healthcare provider that I was a little shaky about, but I'm really glad I did it, and that's acupuncture. I know. Needles? No. But I have really bad hot flashes, and I decided to try it, and holy crap. 1, I was really calm and relaxed afterwards. 2, my acupuncturist was amazing. And 3, my hot flashes went away. Ugh. That was mind-boggling. The fact that I could sleep at night and not be really hot or feel bad for my husband because he would tell me all the time, I really feel like I'm sleeping next to a furnace. And, your metabolism is going and you got inflammation going on and all of that just creates all of that heat in you. And I'm usually pretty miserable at night because I'm hot. We sleep with the AC on all the time. And, it just wasn't pleasant. But every couple of weeks I was going and I started to feel so much better. And even now, I need to go back and schedule another appointment because it's the summertime, it's hot, and my hot flashes are back, and I don't like it. So if you haven't tried it, I highly, highly recommend it. So just to summarize everything that we just talked about. So first things first, educate yourself. Get out there, talk to people, figure out what works and what doesn't work in terms of communicating your story and really talking to people and feeling comfortable about it. Get to know your body. Get a food journal. Take care of your mental health. Exercise. Make sure you're taking your medication when you're supposed to. Identify those stressors that you have in your life that can negatively impact your thyroid disease. Create a team of healthcare providers that are going to work together to lift you up and help you feel better. Try alternate forms of medicine. Just because a lot of things that you've tried via mainstream medicine might not work, it doesn't mean that you can't find something else later. Obviously, as always, check in with your primary care provider or whoever it is that you receive your care from to make sure that's okay for you. But it's worth a try. If you're going to feel better, even if it's for a month at a time, do what you need to do. Obviously, that's safe. But just try it. Try a new food. Try a new activity. Go out for a walk. Try yoga, try meditating, whatever it is that you like to do more of it because it's going to help you feel better. And lastly, think about taking all of these grandiose things and split them up in little pieces. So for me, once I got my meds regulated, once I was on a routine, and once I was in that sweet spot of that medication, and I'm like, I feel okay, but it could be better. Start thinking about it. Look at your food journal, see the types of things that you're eating. Check out when you feel really good and go to your doctor and say, hey, these are the things that I'm doing that make me feel great. What do you think about them? Tried a new form of exercise, or, when you go see your endocrinologist, say, hey, I'm looking at my thyroid levels and it seems that my levels are still the same. Are there things that you think that we should try to do in order to bring my levels up or down, depending on where you are, who you are? And just don't be afraid to put yourself out there in terms of trying something else. I am the first to admit, I used to be very closed-minded when it came to trying new things. But now, I'll try anything if it's going to help me feel better. Now I actually take a turmeric supplement, and that really helps me with my inflammation. I cook with it, and it makes me feel a whole lot better. And it helps my husband as well, who has osteoarthritis. So don't be afraid to try. And remember, take this one step at a time. It's not going to happen overnight. You can do it. Please understand, you can and will do this. And you're going to come out victorious and triumphant, and you're going to feel amazing. But baby steps. And as always, find that group or that resource or that friend. You can even send me a note on my website at ebonycolina.com and we can have a conversation. From time to time, I'll do some Facebook Live sessions or I'll get on Periscope and I'll talk to you guys. I have no problem doing that because you're not alone in this. And you have me and you have a lot of other people that you don't even know about yet that want to see you feel better and succeed. So now, we've gone over all of that. You're feeling good, you're feeling pumped, you're feeling motivated. Go ahead and be easy on yourself. Here's your action item for today. Go ahead and head to ebonycolina.com, and there I want you to check out the resources tab. You will find a 10-step checklist on how to help your thyroid. Those are things that I've done for the past 10 years to help myself feel better and get myself on track. And always remember, you're never alone. You have a lot of people that are rooting for you, especially myself, and let's feel good together. Okay, thyroid warriors, get out there and take things one step at a time. Remember, be great. Reflect on your triumphs, and as always, be well. Take care.